the spacecraft a fastball right down the middle of the plate, and the spacecraft turned on it and cranked it out of the park. All right? All right, so we were dead solid all the way down. We're a little bit farther downrange than we were expecting, and there's a number of reasons for that, and the EDL reconstruction team will tell us exactly why that happened. When we look at all the parameters that we have from the performance of the system during EDL, it went better than any of the tests and simulations we had run. And the team in Denver is just totally stoked. I was on the phone a few minutes before we came in here, and the flight team in Denver realizes that they have a perfectly functioning spacecraft on the surface of the planet, and they're busy trying to understand all the particulars in the data, and they're enjoying the moment right now, and they really do deserve to enjoy the moment. I want to recognize some of the contributors that we have within the spacecraft team, some of our partners, and before I get on with the specifics. The landing radar is absolutely critical. We started with an F-16 radar and figured, well, we'll space rate it. You know, what could be difficult about that? We'll just swap out some parts and oh my gosh. So Honeywell builds the F-16 radar, and the team up in Minneapolis was very patient with us as we drug them through over and over and over again, finer and finer levels of detail of understanding the behavior of the radar and the subtleties of the system interactions, and it performed really, really well. I was a little bit nervous when I was hearing Richard Kornfeld reading off the status, because it seemed like I was waiting forever to get altitude lock. When I talked to the guys back in Denver, they told me, no, it was within 100 meters or so where we predicted. So the radar locked on just as planned. The solar arrays that you're going to see pictures of, the development on those started in 1998 when under the Mars Surveyor 01 lander. And so that's part of my heritage of this mission. I've been working on this lander for 11 years now, with a hiatus in the middle after Ed Weiler shut us down. but
selected you.
Yeah, that's right. But I told him earlier tonight he did the right thing by shutting us down in 2000. Oh, that was rather frustrating at the time. So the solar arrays now, you'll see some pictures of them. They're deployed just as we had hoped. ATK in Goleta, California, has been our partner on those. And those of you who follow the space business have seen the pictures of their arrays in the Orion spacecraft. So Phoenix and the success of the landed solar arrays on Mars has significance for the manned program in a big way as well. So there's a lot of very happy people all over the country to see the solar arrays deployed on Mars. The batteries that we're going to rely on to give us heater power all night are courtesy of Yardney in Pawcatuck, Connecticut. And we started that development back in 1998 as well. And those ended up getting their first usage on the MER rovers, and then we picked up from there, and so we're flying the Yardney batteries. And then the last one I want to recognize is Galileo Ivanica, who built the star trackers for us. Those are very complicated subsystems, and those guys have just been phenomenal to work with. And that gave us the attitude that we needed all the way through cruise. They locked on at the first opportunity after Launch Vehicle SEP, and they've been that way ever since. So we've had up and down, left and right, everything that's contributed to the spacecraft has just been outstanding. There's been terrific commitment by everybody involved. Okay, so let's talk about how we did in EDL. Chute deploy, parachute deploy was about 6.5 seconds later than we expected, and that's represented in the fact that we're downrange from where we had anticipated. And then everything else kind of tracks from there. Lander separation was maybe about 5 minutes behind nominal, and then touch 5 seconds. That would have been a problem. And touchdown was about 7 seconds behind the nominal timeline. At the state at touchdown was 5 miles per hour as per scripted with constant velocity mode, and then the horizontal velocity was 0.15 meters per second, which is about a quarter mile an hour. So to put that in perspective, if you're casually strolling around, that's at about 2 miles an hour. That's about 30 minutes an hour, a mile walking. So we came down with a horizontal velocity about 1/8 the rate of a casual stroll in the park. And to do that on the surface of Mars, because that's where a lot of risk of touchdown is if you come in with a horizontal velocity. If there were rocks down there, if there was the polygonal terrain feature, if you had hooked landing pad in there, bad things could have happened. So knowing that out was really very important. I'll talk about a couple radar parameters, and then we'll go look at some pictures of the solar arrays. We got altitude convergence at 2,188 meters above the surface, and about 2,200 is what we were expecting, so that was pretty darn close. And then we got a velocity lock at 1,549 meters. Those are the two things we needed. With that snapshot, even if we lost the radar at that point, we were probably just fine because the IMUs could have propagated the state to the surface for us. We completed backshell separation at 962 meters above the surface, and then that's when things got really interesting. That was the part when the free flyer kicks in, and we did the tip-up maneuver at 927 meters, and that was really, really important because that's where the control system is able to get the vehicle aligned, the center of mass of the vehicle with the velocity vector, and that's how you get maximum control from your control system. We got onto the gravity turn at 769 meters. That's where we turn around, make sure that we're nadir pointing, and then the all-important thing is constant velocity mode. We had an objective of 40 meters, and we got to that point at 54 meters. And at that point, when I heard Richard call out, "We're constant velocity mode confirmed," I knew we had it. Because at that point, all we had to do was let it come down to the surface. So it was, we did it, and we did it with style, is the way I look at it. So let's look at some solar array pictures. I think there's an animation first to show the context of these pictures. If we can roll the animation. It's, obviously, we're looking at the spacecraft from the top down. And we'll move in here. We'll take a look at the SSI, which is up on the deployment mast, and then down at the solar array. And there you see the image superimposed on what we got on the surface of Mars. And I'll point a couple things out for you here. On the monitor I'm looking at, it's not all that easy to tell, but you can see reflection on all of the cover glass of those solar cells. And what that means is there's no dust on the solar array. None. And that's terrific. You know, we waited 15 minutes to start the deployment, but the soil held together very well. The shot that Barry showed of the biobarrier, there was also no evidence whatsoever of dust on the deck of the lander either. So that was really good news for us. Can we go back to the solar array shot again? We've gone through great lengths anticipating the worst and being in a dust cloud and having the dust not settle. If you look at the center hub of the solar array there, we have a little umbrella, if you will. There's a piece of mylar over the top of it, and that was a dust shield in case it was still dusty even after we waited for the dust to settle, so the gears and the mechanism wouldn't run the risk of getting bound up during deployment. And then if you look at about the 5:30 position, you'll see there's two honeycomb panels there. The way the array starts, it's folded up against the side of the spacecraft. We light off a power wax actuator, and the preload kicks the array out on an arm. And then there's a piece of tape and a take-up spool that opens this thing up. And those two panels, it unfolds with the analogy is like a Chinese fan. So when we saw the picture of the two panels together like that, and we saw the tension in the solar array, we knew that we had they were open and latched.